The buzz and the quest for skill acquisition is currently on the high side, particularly in the fashion industry. So I think it's very important to have this conversation. So today I want to talk about the concept of apprenticeship in the fashion uh, industry and also the concept of the fashion school. So if this is a topic you're interested in, then you might want to stay put to the end. Or if you have an interest in acquiring the skill of fashion, that is the skill of cotton, so tailoring and all of that, then you might also definitely want to stay put to the end. So, hello, my name is Jasuli Josephine here, and welcome. So, today I want to talk about the concept of apprenticeship and the concept of the fashion school, like I rightly said before. But first thing first, I'd like us to see what Google has to say, the definition that Google has. So I'm going to be reading from my other phone here. So Google says an apprenticeship is a hands-on training method where an individual learns a trade by working directly under an experienced professional or boss. In contrast, a fashion school is a formal education now institution that teaches fashion, garment construction, and design through a structured curriculum based system. So this is actually quite simple to understand. So, but in clear terms, I'm going to try to retrace again. So, apprenticeship is when you learn on hands-on training. So, when you go to meet an experienced tailor or fashion designer, and you learn on the job. So, you learn according to um, the the outfits the tailor or your boss is working on part time. So you use that to learn. You learn on the job until you become very good. So it's more like an internship, sort of, if that's the right word to use. While a fashion school is like a structured environment, which is more like a school where you go sit down, you follow a strict curriculum, and then you learn as you go. So, which should you go for? And or which should you go for first, and which would you learn more? Okay, so I know that's the question a lot of people ask. So today I'm just going to be narrowing down and throwing more light on these two concepts so that at the end of the video you'll be able to make a choice on which suits you best. All right, so let's try to compare these two concepts side by side so that you have more insight into what they actually involve. So I have a few points jotted down here. So just in case you are seeing me looking down, I wrote them down so that I won't miss my point, right? So first thing first, let's talk about the style of learning, right? So for an apprenticeship, you basically learn on the job, just like we said before in the definition. So you get to work closely with your boss to see how he or she handles customers' orders. So you basically, or should I say, literally learn the business of fashion, like practically, because you see how he handles clients' orders. You see how he or she relates with clients. You work on clients' orders, like literally you see it, and then you have a mental idea of how to run your own business when you eventually learn the job well and then start to do business with the skill you've acquired, right? So you see the outfit, you see it, you see customers orders, you get to work on it, the whole process and everything. But while in fashion school, you do not have any opportunity to see clients' orders. In fact, most fashion schools are situated very far from the, the factory where they manufacture their clothes, right? So most you don't even have the liberty to see the tailors in these fashion houses that owns the fashion schools, right? So all you have to do is to work on your personal project, like your personal project. You get to work on it. So in an apprenticeship, you have the opportunity to work on different styles. as many times as possible. Like if a client, client A can bring a mermaid dress, client C can bring a mermaid dress, client D can bring a mermaid dress, and then you get to work on this mermaid dress over and over and over again at different times. So definitely you get more perfect on the job. So, but in a fashion school situation, you work on your own mermaid dress that you are being taught part time, and after that, you move on to the next topic, and that's all. So, and then also the duration, right? So, apprenticeship usually lasts longer. Yeah, sometimes it's been like a year, and sometimes more, sometimes a little less. But in a fashion school system, it's usually for a very short period of time. Most fashion schools end in 6 months or 3 months. Like depends on the school's curriculum. But again, cost, right? So I think most fashion schools are a lot more expensive than apprenticeship because I think in most fashion schools, some of them provide accommodation. And even though they don't provide accommodation, the cost is usually way higher than apprenticeship and all of that. And discipline. Well, I think both requires their unique level of discipline, right? In a fashion school, you tend to be more committed to your assignments, your projects, right? Because like a school, everyone has something to do to submit at a particular time. So you have to like work with speed, try to do your assignment, submit, and all of that. So that's what fashion school is about. But for an apprenticeship, most times they don't have to do any assignment, right? So there's really nothing like that. Creativity. I like to say that creativity actually depends on the individual. And that's why I always tell people that there is no need following the bandwagon or following the Joneses or want to do everything that everyone is doing. Do you really want to know the skill? It depends on you because the creativity is in you, right? It's in you. So I'm not going to say your creativity would show more in a fashion school setting or in a apprenticeship setting. It depends on the individual and how creative you want to be. Let's talk about misconceptions, right? So a lot of people believe that people who could not afford fashion school are the ones that go for apprenticeship. This is totally false. I feel like it depends on individual preferences and probably what is available to you part time. And then myth number two, fashion school automatically makes you a professional designer. That is totally false. Your growth depends on your dedication. Like I said before, fashion school does not automatically make you a professional designer. So, and that I'm going to be having another conversation next time where we're going to talk about uh, after fashion school, what's next, and then I'll throw more light on this. Okay, so your growth depends on your dedication, your creativity, how much effort you choose to put into it, how you want to like separate yourself from the rest. That is what makes you a professional designer. The fashion school apprenticeship, it's um it's a stepping stone to your destination. Yeah. So let's talk about the disadvantages of both settings, right? So, for fashion school, possible disadvantages are less exposure to real clients. Yeah, like I said, you don't have opportunities to see real clients, so you don't really know like how to handle them in real life situations. And then it can be too theoretical. Some people like get really tired because of the so many theories, patterns of change, projects, assignments, and all of that, and then we not prepare students for business. Yeah, so although some fashion schools teach the business of fashion, others don't. But preparing you for business is in this case is like, when you see like learning the act of business or the concept of business practically from your boss who actually owns the fashion house where you're an apprentice in. So then For apprenticeship, here are the possible disadvantages. Number one, quality depends on the mentor here. So there are some people that don't really know their jobs. So what you are, the quality of your learning, of what you get out of wherever you are, depends on your mentor, like your boss, the person that is teaching you. So you be sure to look out for the best when you want to go for an apprenticeship. Also, some mentors don't actually teach. That's quite true. In an apprenticeship situation, especially those in the local areas, they don't teach. You just watch, and sometimes you get really confused. You don't even know what they are doing because they won't explain. You just get to be staring, and they expect you to just grab it. I don't know how they do it though, but they do it. So then learning may not be structured, and then progress may be very slow. So there are some apprenticeship situations where they just send the apprentice to errand people, go and buy this, go and fetch water. That's not the kind of apprenticeship I endorse. I don't endorse that at all. People are there to learn work. You should let them learn what they came to learn. Okay. So apprenticeship is not synonymous to slavery. Yeah. So who should choose each one, right? Okay, so um fashion school is better for you if you like structured learning, want a very clear curriculum, learn better in classrooms. An apprenticeship is better for you if you learn by doing, want business exposure, and enjoy practical work, right? Now there is a third option, which is combining both, actually learning both. Well, in my fashion, I'm a fashion tutor, right? Because I have a fashion house, and I actually do both, right? In my fashion house, my students learn. They do practical learning, and they also do hands-on learning. So they'll learn with I have a curriculum which I follow, right? I have a curriculum which I follow. So each students that come into my fashion house, we follow this curriculum until they finish everything that is in that curriculum. They start from beginning. So it's more like the curriculum that is followed in fashion school. And at the same time, we do hands-on learning also. So they still get the opportunity to learn on on my client's audience, right? So they still get opportunities to see what I do with my client's orders, to participate in the workload and everything. So I do a combination of both. So I don't know if other fashion houses operate like that, but that's what I do currently, right? So, but probably in the nearest future, I'm going to have like a bigger fashion house where I'll be able to separate the two. But for now, that is what I do. So this is my advice, right? If you have the intention of owning a fashion business in the future, if you have intention of learning well, I advise you to do both, right? So for me, I would recommend you go for an apprenticeship first because it's easier. Maybe spend like 6 months in an apprenticeship so that you get to learn on the job, get the skill, understand this. You get to do a particular job over and over again. If it's 6%, if it's a straight skirt, you do it over and over and over again. And then you get like the insight more and get a bit of perfection than before you go to a fashion school. Fashion school is usually for a limited period, maybe for like maybe for a few months. It could be a month to 3 months, right? Just to sort of know know what it means like to learn in a fashion school, right? And then to work on the project and everything. I feel like it should be better that way. That's what I think, and that is what I advise, right? So, and if you want to go to a fashion school first, it's still okay. You can go to a fashion school first and then go back to an apprenticeship so that you can actually have more time to learn more on the job. Because in a fashion school, you have, you know, that fashion is inexhaustive, right? The styles, the designs in fashion is inexhaustive, right? So when you are in a fashion school situation, Like I said earlier, if the first topic is a stress care, you work on that stress care, you do your project, that is that. Then you move to the next topic, maybe a flight care. Then from there you move to the next topic, a blouse. Now you don't have time to go over what you've learned, right? So if you don't have retentive memory, you don't have a comprehensive spirit, or you're a slow learner, you might just see yourself passing through without getting anything, right? Without getting anything. And then when you leave the fashion school and you go home, my dear, you will not have the confidence to collect clients or that want to work on it because your stitches are still imperfect, your neatness still a bit of imperfect. You need tailoring or sewing, designing is practical. So you learn basically on the job. You get more perfect from constant practicing, right? So even me that spent years in the industry, I still learn on the job. There are work that if I've not done it for a very long time and I want to redo it, I need to like go back to find my memory again. Right? So that's basically it. So I hope with all of this explanation, you'll be able to make a decision when you decide to go to learn, right? So that's basically it. If you have any other question, feel free to drop it in the comment section. Until next time, have a very good life. Bye.